They promised she would revolutionize the WNBA, that Caitlin Clark would become the face of a new era, the one who would bridge the gap between women's basketball and the national spotlight. But what no one warned us was that the biggest threat to that promise wouldn't come from her opponents. It would come from the system she stepped into. From the moment Caitlin Clark laced up her sneakers for the Indiana Fever, the expectations were sky high. Fans packed arenas, TV networks scrambled for broadcasting rights, merchandise sold out within minutes. For the first time in years, people were tuning into the WNBA not just out of loyalty, but out of real excitement. Clark wasn't just playing the game, she was changing it. But with that spotlight came shadows. And what unfolded over her first few weeks in the league wasn't a story of celebration. It was a slow-motion train wreck of silence, missed calls, and a growing sense of danger. Every night, Clark found herself on the receiving end of hits. That would make an NFL player wince. She was elbowed, shoved, blindsided on cuts, and knocked to the floor without consequence. The referees? They looked the other way. Game after game, the whistles fell silent. Fans watched in disbelief as the league's most valuable player was treated like an afterthought. It wasn't just bad officiating, it was neglect. And then came the injury. A left quadriceps strain. 2 weeks minimum. Clark, the league's brightest star, sidelined not by the wear and tear of a long season, but by a series of ignored warnings. A mountain of no calls. A growing stack of receipts. And suddenly, what looked like a string of oversights now felt like something far more dangerous. The outrage was immediate. Fans flooded social media with clips showing Clark being hammered on drives, tripped on cuts, slammed to the floor. No whistle, no explanation, no justice. And the deeper people looked, the worse it got. It wasn't just the physical play. It was the officials' body language, their reactions, or lack thereof. In one viral moment, a referee literally turned his back as Clark pleaded for an explanation after a missed call. Cameras caught it all: her frustration, the fans' disbelief, and the officials walking away stone-faced, uninterested. What started as frustration turned into a movement. Commentators, former players, and even coaches began speaking up. Fever. Head coach Stephanie White reached her breaking point, calling out what she called a blatant pattern of disrespect. She wasn't wrong. This wasn't about missed shots or rookie growing pains. This was about a system allowing one player, the most watched, most impactful player, to be targeted without protection. And then the real bombshell dropped. Reports surfaced that a portion of WNBA referees hadn't come through college basketball or the G League. Some had skipped those steps entirely, coming from high school officiating straight to the pros. The WNBA, it turned out, had quietly filled its officiating roster with underqualified referees, many of whom had no experience managing the speed, physicality, and pressure of professional play. Even worse, these referees weren't calling games based solely on judgment or rules. Behind the scenes, a shadow committee composed of coaches, general managers, and league stakeholders was instructing officials on how physical the games should be. That meant referees were less arbiters of fairness and more enforcers of a brand strategy. And Caitlin Clark? She was caught in the crossfire. Her arrival disrupted the balance. She brought a tempo the league wasn't ready for, a level of media attention it had never experienced, a fan base that scrutinized every call, every hit, every injustice. The spotlight wasn't just on her game, it was on the league itself. And the response, whether intentional or not, was to make the game harder for her. Call it resentment, call it backlash, but don't call it a coincidence. Week after week, Clark endured off-ball hits that went unpunished. Her defenders played with a physicality that bordered on reckless. And when she turned to the officials, seeking answers, she got none. The quad. Injury wasn't an isolated moment. It was the result of everything leading up to it. What made the silence worse was the WNBA's refusal to acknowledge the obvious. No statement, no apology, no indication that Clark's treatment was being reviewed. Just another name on the injury list. Just another setback in a season that had promised so much. Except this wasn't just another player. This was Caitlin Clark, the driving force behind the league's record ratings, the reason multiple teams had moved games to larger venues, the athlete responsible for selling more WNBA jerseys than any other player in the league. And she was out, not because she wasn't good enough, not because she couldn't keep up, But because the league refused to protect its most valuable investment, fans knew it, coaches knew it, and slowly, even the media began calling it out. One report estimated that Clark was responsible for over 26% of all WNBA economic activity this year. That includes tickets, merchandise, and television contracts. Over a quarter of the league's momentum tied to a single player. And yet she played night after night with a target on her back and referees who looked away. It reached a boiling point during a game against the New York Liberty. With the game on the line, Clark drove hard to the basket, only to be hacked across the arm by Natasha Cloud. The contact was obvious. Replays confirmed it. Commentators held their breath. The whistle never came. And just like that, the game slipped away. Clark and her teammates begged for a review. But due to a technicality, the absence of a full timeout, the Fever couldn't challenge the play. The call or lack of one stood. Another game lost. Another moment stolen. Another silent referee walking off the court while fans chanted in disbelief. That wasn't just a missed call. It was a moment of clarity. This wasn't about a single game. This was about the rules changing depending on who had the ball. It was about a culture of inconsistency, where Caitlin Clark was being refereed under a different standard. And then, perhaps most damning of all, came the revelation that one of the referees involved had been quietly removed from officiating duties. After backlash over Clark's treatment, the league tried to downplay it. No press release, no acknowledgement, but insiders confirmed it. The optics were too bad, the criticism too loud. One ref out, a system exposed. The officiating crisis had become a full-blown scandal. Now, the league is cornered. The questions are mounting. How much more can Clark take? Will she be fully protected when she returns? Will the rules suddenly shift again? And perhaps the most troubling question of all, who, if anyone, is really calling the shots? Because this isn't just about referees missing calls. It's about governance. It's about who's really running the game behind the scenes, and if they're willing to risk the health and safety of their brightest star to preserve an old narrative, then no player is safe. Caitlin Clark didn't ask for special treatment. She asked for fairness, but instead she's become the focal point of a system in chaos, a system more concerned with control than consistency, more interested in legacy politics than legacy players. She's played in 185 straight games between college and the pros. She's never ducked a challenge, never sat out unless her body forced her to. And now, she's forced to rest because the league failed to protect its own future. This is not just a controversy, it's a reckoning. Fans aren't staying silent. Coaches aren't staying silent. And the data doesn't lie. When Clark plays, the league thrives. When she doesn't, it vanishes from national conversation. The WNBA has a choice. Reform now. Clean house, retool its officiating, and protect its players, or risk losing everything Clark helped build. Because this time, the cameras are still rolling. The fans are still watching, and no one's turning their backs anymore. Comment Protect CC below to show your support. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next story. Because this saga isn't over. It's just getting started.